Joy. And on Instagram, because I can, I think. I just got to wait. Instagram needs a moment to connect streaming software to go live.
Well, we aren't on
So
exponential joy yet,
much.
so let me see if we're on you so that I can share us to intuition of the soul.
It says exponential joy is now live.
Okay. It says, oh, and you're also live on Nancy Nan.
It says exponential.
So, okay, let's turn that off so we don't listen to us repeat each thing.
Yeah.
Shining
Yeah.
your light. What a great topic.
Well, it's heavy. It's heavy right now. There's a heaviness in the world, man. I
Yes,
mean,
I have purposely decided the word crazy is going to leave my vocabulary. Because there's a lot of different levels. So if something is kind of wild and funky and, I'm calling that zany. If it's kind of weird and like what's wrong with them, blah, 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 that's bizarre. And then the middle one gets to be toxic. Like, this is not, it doesn't necessarily have to be mental health or just a way I don't want to be in my world. That's the assessment piece for shining my light. It's not a judgment. For me, it feels toxic. I'm going to step back from it. Not because of them, but because how the energy interaction. So kind of stretching apart the word crazy at the moment because we tend to paint that picture. Yeah.
I don't like that word at all. It's insulting.
Well, and that's our charge around it. It's like, that's an interesting word right now too. It. There are they, them, and it. Now, I have a trouble saying it because that was an insult when you were younger to be called an it. It dismissed you as human. And now they're using it to be a neutral pronoun. So it is a little harder for some of us. Same thing with this word crazy. It is a huge paintbrush, everything from mental health issues to narcissism, toxic issues to kind of funny. Oh, that was such a crazy ride. So I'm seriously teasing it apart right now because I don't want to paint. I want to be able to kind of separate my own actions. How do I shine my light? Sometimes I shine my light by walking away. Like, nope. This is not worth the ride that the toxic. They're not looking for my light anyway. I can say, bless you, change
No.
me. It's my assessment. And that's different than judgment. And that's something this year I've learned a lot about is judgment is when I put it on you. You're doing this because assessment is when I'm looking at what's my reaction to it.
Yes.
And what, sometimes it's an activation for me to pay attention because it is a mirror. Sometimes it's an activation for me to run screaming into the night. Sometimes it's an activation of, there's other things going on inside here that, like you were talking about this morning, an activation stepped forth, a trigger. And it's like, wow, I'm in a playful mood and this was for somebody else. So now so again, it is this, this energy, and the energy today is about truce with this. That is the energy for this today as we go into a lunar eclipse next Tuesday.
Truth or truce?
Truths.
Okay.
Truths.
And a truce. And a truce, man. Like, whoa.
Yeah, truce. Yes.
Yep. Back the truck up. Because the beauty of today is in the honoring of many things.
Right.
So I have friends who have birthdays today. And a birthday on a day like today is a strange feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And celebrating a birthday on a day where there is so much of a remembrance of a tragedy.
Right. Right.
It's a conundrum. That's a big, big, big conundrum.
Yeah, I
And
have
so
a couple people. Yeah,
for me, I have a candle ceremony whereby I light 3 candles. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
cannot change the
change the
courage to
things I
change I can,
can,
and the wisdom
with
to know the difference.
know the difference. And then a 4th candle that I light to my prayers up to heaven and ask for those who need to be shined, to be shined.
Mhm.
And that is for me in my inability to be everywhere at once, because we have people that we love and we worry about them. We have loving concern, and there's not much that we can do, and that holding space is a challenge when the space is so far away. Um, I love you, and I wish well. Oh, if I could just take away all the pain of the world. Whoa, wait, is that fair? I have a right to that. If I took away all of the pain and suffering that I've had in my life, I would not be the woman that I am. I needed all of that, even if I didn't want it at the time.
Well, I have a little story about shining your light, and I had debated whether I was going to share it. So I'm going to, yeah, because it is about that being the person that we are, shining your light, truce. Like, I'm not here to figure out Nancy Nan. I'm almost barely here to figure out Kitty Budewig Foss. So, like,
Yeah.
my own life is barely my business. And so today, with these truths of who I am coming forward and what resonates, it's not my job to solve other people. Though I already got activated this morning with, a person who said, I saw blah, blah, blah. And it was about something political last night. And I said, I didn't see that. Um, and again, the assessment is, what is it I want to see, to put forward, to see out of leaders, friends? It's the same thing as a circle of friends. If I have that completely toxic, everything is bad, Debbie Downer person, and that's not where, and I'm not talking about farting rainbows either, you know, where
Mhm.
um it's that, if you're not looking at this point to step into that world and believe we can be different, then I wish you good luck in the world you're creating. It is not where I want to be. I'm looking for those people
Nope.
who, and I don't care if you say, fuck, I don't care if you have bad days, none of that. It's what's your overall intention forward moving that you present to me. When people show you who they are, believe them. It doesn't mean they won't wear a
Oh, yeah.
mask and be fake, you know, but if authentically they're willing to be a horrible human being, why would I want to hang around with a horrible human being? You know? Right.
No.
Um, and so this week I got a big lesson on, I had a real need to contact. Um, this is where I'll be a little cautious because it's not completely my story to tell. And I do believe that, having been in Al Anon for all the years I've been in Al Anon, there's my part of a story and you do you, boo part. So I have
Mhm.
had a person who's been important in my life, who's had a lot of issues over the years, um, in recovery. And but I wanted to ask them why they were completely ignoring the attempts I had made to reach out, to check in, not tell them what to do, nothing like that, just to check in. Okay.
Just, hey, yeah, just contact,
I,
contact.
I'm part of your support system. And I really wanted to ask them this question. And another friend who's got many years of program underneath her said, okay, let's just break this apart. That's why we are a community. What are you
Mhm.
hoping when you ask them this? What do you expect from their answer? Um, is it going to be anything different than, and you cannot explain yourself out of what you behave yourself into. You cannot use words. You must, um, a friend of mine called living amends. You amend your behavior. Then, like you were saying, you have to accept all of those parts who you were. And that
Mhm.
was a really great question because how much of it was about me and how come you're not talking to me and I'm going to help you and all of the things that I go every week to talk about to let go of. Um, I'm learning to amend
Mhm.
how I show up in relationships. And so that night I was laying there and I was talking to spirit. Okay, so this was about me. There was my human manager, my kitty lee ego, how, I care about you and, you know, don't you know how good that could
Yeah.
be? And all of those things. And I'm like, okay, but I really would like to know, spirit, and perhaps this isn't ever going to happen. Why? No. And I know that's my ego. I get it. Why I'm just not part of the solution per se or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and let it go and know, own my part of it. Next morning, there's a message to, it happened to be my husband and I, that said, because normally when I would say something to this person over the years in their active addiction, they would basically lie. And it's been very hard because they're not a steward of the truth anyway. And that was kind of going to be
Mm.
my expectation if I did, reach out. Oh, phone broke, blah, blah, all of the things that I normally get, which we knew were not true. And the message said, I know I have not been in contact. And it's about me staying in the present. And that's all I can do right now. And I just thought, wow, when I truly let this go, the light shone to get the information. I had spoke to the
Mhm.
higher power of the person, the source, and I said, I still do feel like I would like to know. And again, coming down to shine my light, I can't take things personally. It's not personal. It isn't. I
Yeah.
can offer the light that I have. And for some people, I don't want to offer it because that's that toxicity that's not all right for me, and it's all right for me to take care of me. And uh, when they can accept it, they'll accept it. And let me call to the people that want it. And what an amazing gift that was to very next
It
day when I
is.
finally let it go. Yep.
It
And
is.
this was
It is. I was
months.
months. I was having a conversation with my son yesterday, and I told him about an experience in my life. He's like, "Are you okay, mom?" I'm like, "You know what? I am. I'm really okay with this." And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Buddy, I promise I am." He goes, "Okay. If you're okay with it, then I'm okay with it." And it was an unexpected, um, like we've all got these roads that we travel down, and we think of the people that are going to join us on the road. And it was a very unexpected, um, and I'm just like, um, oh. And then with half an hour, I got another turn back. It was like the, spirits showing me the freeways, like all the interconnected freeways, and one freeway that had closed, shut down for a long time, since 2017. It was
Oh, wow.
reopened, and I was just like, "Wow, that's really beautiful," and then it led to another connection, because in the reminiscing of, "Have you heard from the other person that we worked with?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I wonder if she's still on my phone." Boop, boop, boop. She was, and it was beautiful. because she had expressed to me how she's doing so successfully well in her career because of what I taught her. And I'm like, oh my
Oh, isn't that
goodness,
lovely?
well,
There's and
that's so nice.
mhm,
Yeah. And it's a part of my life that I know do. You know, I'm like, wow, you're 11 accounts payable. Booyah. And you're working at a bakery, an Italian bakery. Oh my God, I love bread, right? Like I'm like winning because now I get to go and see her when I get back because I'm driving away. I'm getting in my car, and what takes most people half hours to drive will take me about 10, because I have to take breaks and I have to stretch and I have to pee, all that stuff. And it's okay. It's okay. It's a different way of being. And I'm much more used to I need to travel now.
mhm,
Before, it was, "Oh my god, I can't believe it. This isn't fair. Why me?" And now I'm like,
mhm.
because it is." Acceptance,
It
big
is.
one.
It's acceptance,
Accept
and, I'm drawn to the, I think it's her name is Edith Wharton, the, um, quote about there are 2 ways to refract a light, and that's acceptance. You're either the candle or the mirror that shines it back.
Mhm.
And there's an acceptance. Sometimes I'm the mirror, sometimes I'm the candle, and sometimes I'm none of them in a situation, and I can only
Big
live
truth,
my best life. Yep.
big truth, big truth.
I
Big
love
one.
that
Big
concept of living amends. I amend the way I live, I react, I respond. And that, again, what world am I going to create? What reality am I going to create?
yeah. Yeah, what am I gonna choose? What am I gonna choose? And, there it goes back so often to, "What can I do about this?" Nothing. Nothing. Like, there and yes, there is something I can do about it. Really struggle with, any form of drive-through food. We don't get along. And I have packed my, granola, my hemp, my chia. I need to get yogurt before I leave, and there's a certain type of yogurt that my body can digest, and I can't get it everywhere. Get it at Superstore. I can get it at the traditional, um, in town that, provide the halal food because there's something about the milk, the halal milk that my body is good with, so I can get halal yogurt.
Hmm.
It works.
What is halal?
If it's a different way of processing the meat
Okay.
and the byproducts of, and it doesn't have any crap in it, kitty. It's just straight up yogurt.
Yeah, I'm
My
my mother,
body likes up food.
my second mother, um, the one I spent actually most of my life with, interestingly enough, not my first mother,
Mhm.
um, is Lebanese. And so they would make Lebanon, their
Okay.
own yogurt. So I understand the difference. I truly do. Yeah.
Oh, I have a friend of mine who's Lebanese, and he's such a lovely fellow. He's got red hair and he burns in the sun. Like I'm just like, wow, every time I look at you, I forget. Like I forget. And when he was a young fella, he used to come to our home for dinner. And my son Jarrett would often look at me and be like, Ben's here. Is dinner good? And I'm like, oh, stop. Ben, don't eat that. Because he's very devout in his practice. And I forget.
Mhm.
Because it is so foreign to me. And when I practice cultural humility, I am able to remember that everybody has a beautiful culture that they come from. And when I remember to honor it. Wow. And to ask more questions. Oh, I love to listen. Oh, I love to. I just please more. Yeah. Yeah. Got to do that. And I've been remembering the halt,
Mhm.
hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah.
What?
Halt.
Yeah, am I hungry? Am I angry? What am I feeling? What am I feeling in this moment? And to break it down into the depths of it.
Yeah.
It's not just doubt. What is it? Go deeper, Nance, go deeper, Nance, deeper, Nance. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots.
Truly.
Mhm.
It is. And,
Yeah.
what I think my light was last year is very different than my light this year. It is very
Oh,
different.
wow.
And
So true.
and so and I can only shine, I can only be the mirror or the candle from where I am right now. And when I do
Mm,
that, I have the ability then to draw to me more understanding, not less, more. I might be narrowing my focus. Um, there are times I feel more like the lighthouse, and then there are times more like the sun, depending
yeah.
what is happening. And particularly today, astrologically, we're coming up to a lunar eclipse, and a lunar eclipse often removes things from our life. It's already the full
Mm,
moon, and the full moon will be in Pisces. So it's removing dreams, but maybe dreams that are delusions, illusions, shining a light upon them with this lunar eclipse. A
mhm.
lunar eclipse is often about relationship, and especially because we have this sun in Virgo getting ready to go into a Libra sun ruled by Venus. So something, and it can be abrupt. It really can be. Um, it is a time, and we talked about this last week. Coming into this mid-month, there is a tremendous shift, and it can be in all the
Mhm.
little ways. But once you settle all the little ways, then it's amazing what fills in then around the bigger themes of your life. So I'm sure you've seen that experiment where you put all the little things in and then you try to shove the bigger things in all the little things, the rocks in a jar. You ever
Oh
seen
my
that?
God. I've been talking, I've been listening, I've been living with Brene. Like she's in my house, she's in my car. Because I've really been looking at that. That aspect of what is it that I want to create as a leader? How am I struggling with vulnerability? When shame pulling me into its shadows? Like just I've been spending a lot of time in deep contemplation. And as I'm exposing more and more and more about my life, I'm like, well, how are you going to deal with this, Nance? And and
Hmm.
and what can you help other people understand by the way that you're dealing with it?
Right.
Hmm.
And it is just that, the big things. And as I look at the little things, which are part of the pattern that fill in around, it shifts the big things. It makes them richer, more steady, more, there's not holes in space. And yeah, the first time I saw that example was Stephen Covey, Seven Habits
Yes.
of Highly Effective People.
Hmm.
And um and it's not about highly spiritual people, motivated people. It's about habits of being effective, um, in
Yep.
what. And sometimes, especially right now, part of what we're learning is really, what do I want? What I thought I want, and when I really start if it starts really not showing up for me, I have to look at, is that really what I want? Or do I have
Oh,
something
I
invested
know.
in it?
I know.
Mhm.
What's the ulterior motive? What's your motive? And I'm like,
Right.
what's my motive? Oh, no. Really? I'm like, yeah, that's what it was, Nance. And I'm like, that's why it didn't work out. Because spirit is always working for me. Always, 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 always working for me, especially in the moments when I feel scathed. That's such a good word, scathed.
So
When I
define
feel
scathe for me. Yeah.
well, that's like Johnny Depp pirate. When someone scathed you, like I feel like I've been stabbed. Really? Last night when I had the tea and tarot, I pulled so many sword cards, and it's that illusion being stabbed. It's that drama queen. Oh, I've been scathed. Have you?
Mhm.
Really? Really? Oh, that's all that's me? That's me overreacting to a situation that I didn't even like. I don't know why other people behave in the way that they do. I don't know why I received a no
Right.
from somebody that I thought I would get a yes from, and then a yes from somebody that I didn't even expect.
Yeah, I it
Cool.
that is so, ultimately, that story I told was about the fact that I thought I was in their energy. Why were they doing it? About versus once I got, well, I would really like to know spirit. So let me talk to their higher self, you know. And very simple answer. It had nothing to do with me. It was none of my business.
Nothing.
We serious that this morning, if you listen to my astrological, it says your truth is about you, not about you in the greater picture. It's about you. What are you aligning yourself with? What are you, um, my truth and your truth are different. They're different.
So different. So
Right.
different. And we can have an opportunity to celebrate with some people unexpectedly. And what are we going to do about that opportunity? Are we going to take it or are we going to put it aside? Not quite right now. The friend that I had contacted unexpectedly, I'd sent the text message and it landed with a different person. And her response was, "Oh, this is a conversation that that we could have over a bottle of wine." And I said, "Well, how about on October 10th when I'm speaking in Edmonton?" "You are?" "Yes." "Wow. Can you send me the link?" Boom, off it went. And I hope it lands. I hope.
Mhm.
And I am not holding on to an expectation because if I expect a person to show up and they can't, my feelings get hurt. That's not fair.
Yeah, because hope does spring eternal, and I hope, and at the same time, I turn it over to what's what's meant to be.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah, because it's such my expectations are my places of disappointment. I set myself up for them, you know,
Mhm.
and they're also places of boundaries. I do expect you will be polite to me. Um, and so
Yes.
if you're not, or if you're cruel, or if you bully, then the expectation that's my boundary, that's something different than setting myself up for disappointment. I am I going to be disappointed a little bit that you're probably being rude? Absolutely. And I can take an action from that. This is not where my light needs to be, and I'm going to shine it internally. So, what can you do to take care of yourself? And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I saw a hilarious video on Instagram. There was a crab in a boiling pot of food. and
Mhm,
there was a piece of bread in the boiling pot of food. Kind of looked like a stewy soup. And the
mhm.
crab in the boiling water had the bread and he was just eating it. And I'm like, wow, how are you going to deal with it? Right? Are you
Yep,
going to flail all around, freak out because the water's a little bit hot? You're going to eat the bread, nurture yourself, take care of yourself, and then get out of the bucket? What if you can't? What if you're in a
right,
situation that you simply need to sit in and
yep,
stew? You've been activated. Heat's on. What are you going
yep,
to do? And there's so much activation going on in this world, personally and collectively.
right. And ultimately, it's the same question. What is it I wish in this activation to be an outcome, to be a learning, to be seen, to creating my reality, you know? And, it's very interesting as I watch people really choose to align themselves with terror and nastiness and all of these things. And it's like, I'm no longer angry about it or why would I just like, why it's gone from why would you do that to why would you do that?
Yeah.
And you do you. And if this is your journey, this is your bus stop conversation,
Well,
you
and I
know,
mean, yesterday, one of my favorite voices passed away, James Earl Jones.
I loved his voice. Yes.
Oh, what a beautiful voice. And I was listening to the radio as I was driving yesterday, and the two radio DJs, they're funny. They're funny. And they were contemplating whether that was his voice on the Burger King commercials or not. And I just laughed. I simply laughed. I mean, do you think James Earl Jones, do you think his feelings were hurt in that moment? I mean, I would love to be considered the voice of Burger King if that was what my voice sounded like. That sounds like fun. A Burger King commercial? Cool.
Oh, one of my favorite things years ago, I liked Barry Manilow. And
Oh,
was he had a whole thing because he wrote jingles. That's how he survived.
mhm.
And it's on the album itself where he says, "My tacky friends." Some of my friends say that's tacky. You shouldn't be doing that, Barry Manilow. And then my tacky friends say that's great. And then they were cheering in the audience. He goes, "Well, I know which group you're in," because he wrote all these jingles.
Yeah.
He did Jack in the Box. He did all of these jingles that he wrote, and he's singing them away at his concert because they were still him. Just like James Earl
Mm.
Jones was it. My favorite movie when they were going through different movies that he had done, Coming to America, all these different ones. My favorite movie did not make it on there, and he was the voice of the gentleman in Sandlot with the dog who owned the dog at the junkyard. And Sandlot is the character he played happened to be blind. And at the end, you
Mm.
meet the characters. I had a lot of great stuff. And he lost his blindness. He loved baseball, but he lost his sight getting hit in the head with a line drive, is the story of the
Yay.
character. And the movie Sandlot was by far my favorite children's movie. Um,
Mhm.
and have you ever seen it?
I have seen it. Do you know what I've got? This is funny.
Pete, the plump and perky turkey.
Right?
Yeah.
I am so excited for this. Like, I really am. So I was talking to my daughter-in-law, and I said to her that I've ordered some children's stories, and I'm not giving them to the girls. I'm keeping them, and I'm going to read them and put them on YouTube and do it in a way that is for all children. And she's like, "Oh my God, would you please?" And I said, "Yeah, I will." And she's like, "Oh, I love that so very, very much. The girls will love it." So story time with Nona Sparkles.
Well, and
Doing something for fun. I'm such a serious creator, right?
yes.
I need to step off. and just have some fun.
Well,
You know, when I was
and
younger,
because you are known as Sparkles and you're a
yeah,
crafty Nona, the activity that's so much fun with that is to send them a plain turkey and ask them to make a disguise for it, just like the story goes through, and then see what they come up with is how would you have created the arts and crafts turkey to disguise so you want, like Pete hid.
oh my
So
gosh.
and it's
Oh
so
my
much
gosh.
fun to see what they do. And as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, since we were speaking of James Earl Jones, one of the favorite ones kids would do over the years would turn him into Darth Vader because nobody would mess with Darth
Oh.
Vader for the turkey. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is
Mhm.
hilarious because we again, we have these beliefs as to how people will show up, and I think we both share an understanding from children because I was a preschool teacher as well, and we have the expectation as how little Johnny's gonna show up, or Indy. One of my favorite students was Indy, and Indy would have put himself in the thinking chair, because Indy would make a mistake, and he said, "Mrs. Chapwin, I'm going to sit in the chair." And it was regular. It was regular, and I every day that I went in, I expected Indy to be fine, to be wonderful, and I had a 50-50 shot. And the days that
Mhm.
he was great were the days that he was great. And there was another young fellow who played video games and colored everything in black. His parents were quite concerned about the black. I don't know. I mean, I know that Indy turned out wonderfully and his friend perhaps. And what is wonderfully?
Right. Um, yeah, we never know uh, what that piece is and how we show up. Children, all of it. And I think it's amazing that Indy would knew I have to take a break. Take a break chair.
Yeah.
I didn't call it time. I did call it timeout, but timeout as in I just need to take a break. You know, you can put yourself in the take a break chair, and I'm not going to say anything to you. I can put you in the take a break chair. I sat in it a few times myself. You know what? Mrs. Foss is going to take a break. Of course, when
Well,
Mrs.
and the
Foss,
take a break chair,
yeah, yeah,
the take a break chair is expanded to the toilet because we often do that in, I mean, in life. We're
mothers
like,
especially.
bathroom break, I'm out of here, right?
Yeah,
I used to, my door was always opened. I had 5 children. There's a lot of chaos they could create in 5 minutes, man. And Ralph still sometimes is surprised when he comes to my son's house in Kelowna and like there's Chansey, doors wide open.
yeah.
That's yeah, your mom does that too. He goes, yeah, we do that. And so do his daughters. We're very comfortable. I don't like having the door closed. Even when I'm in a public bathroom, I'm like, and then I'm like, whoa, where's that coming from? Well, what can happen? I'm like, they're grown ass adults. They're okay. They aren't out there wreaking havoc. But I mean, they would. We would go to a buffet, and by the time I got back from the bathroom, I mean, like, you cannot understand how much, like, the seafood buffets, especially. Like my one son, I'm like, "Whoa, you cannot, like, you can't take all that shrimp." And then I'm like, "Well, it looks like you did." No one ever said, "Put it back." But they would load up on the foods that they loved from the buffet. Or they'd have food fights. I mean, it was wild.
Oh, I bet. I
No, it's
bet.
wild. And now looking back on it, it was such an adventure, and when I see their children, I'm just like, "Hmm, interesting."
Yep. You know, we all figure out our light, those kinds of things, what we'll do, what we
Mm,
won't do, um, and how we become who we are. And children try on different personalities. As a teacher, um, that was very difficult for parents sometimes. They try
yeah.
on different pieces, you know. Ooh, today we're going to be a bit spicy,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
Um,
Well, and that's the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is a way of being. I can be happy. Joy is eternal.
Way of living.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's eternal because I've got some joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in
Down
my
in
heart.
my down in my heart, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart.
Down in my heart. That's why I loved going to church. I loved listening to the songs. And I've got a dear friend of mine who often will break out into song, This Little Light of Mine. And she sings it with such reverence.
Yep.
Such reverence, and so do I. I have wonderful memories of my life as a young adult even, learning the commandments. I write about one of the commandments in my memoir. It's the chapter called Biggie Smalls,
Mhm.
and Biggie's a dog, and he didn't follow one of the commandments. Thou shalt not steal. I think it was
Ah,
steal. Yeah, and he didn't read the doggy book of etiquette.
mm. Yep.
And I love Biggie, I admire Biggie, and I like being more like Biggie because the rules, they don't always apply.
No. No, and it goes with your beliefs, and that's a struggle sometimes for me, is the rules that I live by are not necessarily the beliefs of everyone.
Well,
Ca
let's take the word anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. If all the alcoholics were anonymous, we wouldn't know there were any anonymous, we wouldn't know there were any.
Yeah,
And there's an opportunity to be anonymous. And when you're ready to come out and speak about your addiction,
right. The anonymous part is really
does that mean
it
you have to leave AA
no.
because you're
The
no longer
anonymous part is I give that to other people. They can be the
Mm.
anonymous so that until they're
What's
ready.
what stays in Fight Club, what happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club, as
Right,
is the world should be.
right,
And I
and
don't
it's
should very often. But if I want to tell my truth, I'll tell my truth. If you believe that you know my truth,
well, that's
oh,
what it goes back. You heard me say it earlier today. Some pieces were not my story to share. My
yes.
s and that is the anonymous part. I don't have to agree, it's the other pieces take what you like and leave the rest. What
Mhm.
resonates with you. Very s That's one of the places, AA, Al-Anon, you have an opportunity to understand, take what you like, leave the rest. Because we've often, especially many religions, I mean, I remember having um, a, a nun, a sister, who that she was teaching the concept thinking was the same as doing. Now, interestingly enough, I've come to believe that there is a, a thread of reality in that. How I think is somewhat the same of doing. So if in other words, being aware of that, but that's for me, not other people. But thinking is the same as doing. Do I?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where um for me, I always felt like I was being judged by the Father because he
Right,
always knew what I was doing. And I was always in trouble because
right.
even just
And,
the thinking, like,
well, and if
whoa,
the same as doing, and I'm thinking, no, no, if I think I want to throat punch somebody, it's very different than if I throat punch them.
oh,
Um,
for heaven's sake, yes.
and
I
so
mean, I
she,
talk about shovels in train stations, for
yeah.
heaven's sakes.
Um, and so when she was teaching that, I'm like, I made a face, and I was a very quiet student, very, very quiet. And she's like, "Hmm, do you have something to say?" I said, "I think that's ridiculous that it's the same as doing, you
Would you
know,
like to share with us?
uh,
Oh,
yeah,
boy,
would you
would I
like to
like that
share?"
question
And
now.
I said, um, I just think that that doesn't make any sense. If I think about hurting someone, but I listen to my soul and all of these other things about what do I want to live my life like? How do I want to shine my life? And I don't do it. Hopefully someday that won't be my response to want to throat punch them, hit them, steal, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and she got very indignant and she said, Catholic religion, Kitty, is not a pick and choose religion. And again, a much older version, higher version of me went, well, that's ridiculous. Of course it is. Everything is a pick and choose in your belief system. And that is an issue sometimes with, quote unquote, there are people, it's all or nothing. Really, there's where free
Oh,
will.
everybody and all. See, you and I are on two different sides of the Americas. I am in the North Americas, you're in the Central Americas. And I am able to observe the Bloods and Crips, as I often refer to the political arena in America, because I can't remember which is blue and which is red. And um, though the happenings will affect Canada, I am not allegiant with either, nor am I here in my own country, because not only do I believe that the effects of one leader will not dictate everything that happens. I mean, our leader is in the east side of Canada, and what happens here in Alberta is so far away from the eastern side. Even if all of Alberta voted for one political party, Ottawa, Ontario trumps us because they've got more people. So we as Albertans can never choose exactly what we want. We don't have that choice. It was taken away from us because of the structure of the government and the parliament. And those are facts. Um, there's only so much that I can change in regards to politics. And there's a lot that I can change in regards to what I do in my day every day.
Right.
Every day.
And
I'm a
we
patriot.
know energetically it
Mhm.
ripples out. So
Absolutely.
you know, when I take a look at it, and that doesn't even mean, even if I disagree politically with someone,
Mhm.
depending on what the disagreement is about. I am not a registered either. I'm neither red nor blue. I have always been a registered independent. I have voted on both sides of our alley and wish there were at least a third side. Oh, and by the way, I've voted on what would be the third side when they've been independents,
Oh.
depending. And Maine actually has had an independent governor for quite a while. Neither
Hmm.
was neither party, and actually he's a senator now, running independent. Um, and again, I can shine my light for myself. Now, it happens to be, I do believe the earth at the moment, mankind, is in an amazing ability to evolve. And
Huge.
so I do pay attention then who I align myself with. I don't dismiss it. Um,
Yes.
and if that is the world, believe people when they show you who they are. Now, is it possible that another person may have hidden agendas? Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and if somebody is willing to show you who they are and it is diametrically different than the way you want human beings to be, believe them. So this is an evolution. This is an awakening of the feminine. Interestingly enough, this particular moon especially is about removing certain feminine parts, perhaps the suppressed parts in this lunar eclipse that is stepping forward for us. So
Hmm.
it is important, like you said, how I live my daily life, and I reflect in the bigger because I hope to influence that. What is it I hope to see and create? Because if going back to what Sister said, if thinking is the same as doing, you know? Well, if I'm seeing somebody doing something I know is abhorrent, aberrant,
Yes,
like,
yes.
why would I, how must they be thinking that they're not showing me out there? And it's like, I don't believe you have to always be nice. I do believe you have to be kind. There is no
Oh,
reason to call names. There is no reason to, um, you know, there is no reason to call people, overgeneralize all of those things again. And it's such an interesting dichotomy to take a look at. And we are choosing which reality we want to live in. We just are.
we are. We are. I'm a patriot of peace. Therefore, in all that I am doing, I am aiming for that. And when I miss the mark, I go back to the root of it. And I mean, I spend a lot of time in self reflection about when I get bent out of shape because I get bent. Like I get really bent. And then I'm like, whoa, what was that, Nance? And I talk to myself with the utmost kindness and respect.
Hmm.
And I don't get bent very often anymore, comparatively speaking. I mean, there's no more holes in doors and walls. I've evolved a lot.
Yeah. You shined your light in a different internally as well. And I
Yes.
understand that when you talk about shining your light, it's also internally. Wait a minute, this is a place of darkness for me. Why? Not
Yeah.
It's not about anybody else in that moment. This is a place of darkness, fear, all of those things. And um, yeah, I do a lot of self reflection, a lot of, for me, it wasn't so much getting bent as discounting myself, you know. Well,
Mm,
I should be able to make this person be all right and this be all right, and going, you know what? If this person really is not for you, it's not about them. It is about you, and it's all right for it to be
yeah.
about you and to own it. Yeah.
Beneath the bent, in the last 2 weeks is very similar to that in that, what did I do wrong that they don't like me?
Mhm.
That was a lot of the core in my bent. And, then
And
to
ultimately, I have to like me.
yes, 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 so true, so
I don't
true.
think I ever learned that.
No, 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 no. Same with me. And I mean, one of the things that I carry with me when I go to speaking events is a really teeny tiny suitcase. It's easy for me to pull. It's super light, and it's a Hello Kitty suitcase, and I love it. I have learned to manage less, even though I am increasing my strength. I still have pain. I remember it's discomfort, and if I push past the discomfort, keep on going anyways, it's pain. And I get to choose what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, who's going to show up, but I don't know who else is going to show up. I don't know what other burdens other people are carrying.
Right. And again, I can show up by being the best version of me for their
Mhm.
burdens too. And, I know I have a disease around relationship because I don't know my piece of it. In my bus stop conversation, picked Mars and Cancer, which is always pivoting, one foot in the door, one foot out the door. It's a gift and it's something for me to learn about in relationship. And by the way, it's in the seventh house to boot. And so knowing that now allows me to say, okay, when sister said, uh, thinking is the same as doing, I knew that that was absolutely not going to work for me, that thinking would
Mhm.
be the same as doing because I'm always trying to think. And and unfortunately, what came out of my mouth was a real smart aleck comment, which was, huh, so if I think I paid my taxes, the government's going to be okay with that? I had to go to the office. First time ever I got sent to the office, ever. Um,
I didn't get sent to the office either. I really didn't. I spent more time in the principal's office with my children than I did personally. I
well,
got
I
sent
never
to
said
the
anything. I didn't say boo. I wish I had a picture of the other people in my class who had gone to school with me for years who went like, because I thought it was just such, I think it's a ridiculous thing to teach human beings that now, yet I still believe if I think and I work on how I think, I do manifest. So I suppose if I did think about murder, I would manifest that. So it's not the same as doing, it's a gateway to doing. That I could buy, you know.
well, and if we can take time to have a little bit more interest in people and how they came to the conclusion that they came to, it's much more fun. When I was a young girl, my uncle Hugo taught me how to play cards. I learned how to play so many different games, and one of my favorites was bullshit.
Oh, I remember that game.
I love playing bullshit. I call bullshit. And so for me, I I loved calling bullshit because I had great intuition. I didn't always have I wasn't part of the debate team because I didn't have the linear answers. I instinctively I knew I didn't have the proof.
That's right. Right. So it wasn't the place to shine your light at the moment, you know?
No, and other people will prove themselves. Allow them to
Right.
in
Allow them
ways.
to, and because your concentration is where do I shine my light? In the situation, is it internal shining? Is it external shining? And even when it's internal, I'm creating that aura. You know what? This isn't for me. Let me take a look at why isn't it for me? Is it because I have a judgment? Is it because I have a belief or an assessment? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's just too much work. It's all right to say sometimes, you know what, this is just too much work for me.
Yeah,
I'm not
gotta say
I'm
no.
not here. Yep.
Just gotta
I am.
say no. Yeah.
I just gotta say no. It's
To
not,
thine
you
own
know,
self be true. To thine own self be true. The more that you're true to yourself, the less that you will be filled with resentment.
well, and it becomes as it's a muscle to practice
Oh, yes.
because it becomes much clearer and faster. And you get out of the pivot of that energy. And
Yeah,
then I can really pick where my light shines. And it must shine for me every day for me to
it must.
truly access it.
It
So,
must. Well, when you think about traveling, the one thing that because I'm in a colder country for the better part of too many downs, is having a candle in my glove box, candle and matches, candle and lighters. Because if my vehicle breaks down in the cold, one candle can light my entire vehicle and fill it full of warmth.
mhm,
I've got to bring it home.
yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have the kids sing at Christmas time a song. There's a kid's song called One Little Candle. And the words were one little candle burning bright, one little bit of rainy it light shines in the darkness for all to see. And it's, keep your light shining bright, shining bright. And that's what we're talking
Mm,
about today. Keep your light shining bright.
shining bright. Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
again, an
Shine
hour
bright.
has flown by.
Bada bang, just like that. So much fun, right? So much
So
fun. I love
we
it.
won't be, Nance doesn't know this part, but we won't be back next week because I'm on a 2-day off the grid piece, but we will be back the
Oh,
following week.
fun.
It's
Good
a
for
routine
you.
with a girlfriend and a candle and some games. And uh, I'll do my daily horoscope, and that will be it. So,
I love it. And you know what? That actually works very well for me because I have another event that I am going to be at. So it would have been a real big whoa.
right. So, see, spirit takes care of it, just like I got my message.
Yep,
Give spirit the opportunity to take care of it. The other piece of
absolutely.
that. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let it go. So speaking of which, toodaloo.
Namaste.
Namaste. Love you.
Love you too.
Have a great day. Bye.